Star is walking down the path from the library aimlessly, getting some much-needed French air. I've been cooped up in my house for a while. I just don't really want anyone who doesn't know to see me in this condition. I don't know how I would explain this to them. They continue on their way, staring at the stars. Eventually, she bumps into someone and stumbles back. I'm so sorry, I wasn't looking. That was my bad. Are you okay? Star panics slightly as she looks down to see at who she bumped into. The first harbinger blinks slowly as he looks down to meet the eyes of the stranger who just ran into him. He's very tall, hood down to reveal his dark skin and animalistic features. His silver gaze bores into Star, unblinking in the quiet night. Ephraim stood there for a long minute, somewhat stunned. He'd not spoken to anyone outside of his kin, Ryan, and a god in centuries. Are they a lichen? He muses. Finally, he murmurs in a calm, deep voice. No need to apologize. I should have been paying better attention to my surroundings. Star smiles sheepishly. So should I. I guess I should introduce myself. She nervously laughs. I'm Star. What's your name? She gives a reassuring smile to the new face. Ephraim tilts his head before offering a clawed hand to shake. You can call me Ephraim. It is a pleasure to make your unexpected acquaintance, Star. He dipped his great horned head in a short bow. Pardon me for asking, but are you by chance one of the lichens? I've not seen one of your species for many centuries. His tone is formal, though quiet curiosity flashes in his gaze. Star grabs his hand gently for a shake. Yes, I am, and so are my parents, though they are no longer here with me. Star looks down sadly, then clears her throat and returns back to a smile. But I don't want to dampen the mood. Are you new here? I can offer you a tour if you are. Star smiles brightly, her tail wagging. My condolences for your loss. Ephraim releases her hand and makes a considering hum. Good to know some of Fauna's chosen have survived. He lets out a startled laugh at her offer, mouth quirking into a faint, amused smile. I appreciate the offer, but no, I am not new to these lands. I was created here centuries ago, the first replies. I'm in the area because I just recently visited one of the temples. I needed to clear my head afterward. The word created makes Star perk up, and she takes a moment to think. Created? What does that mean? Wait. Is he? Star looks at Ephraim curiously. Are you by chance related to Emunah? I can't help but think so since you mentioned you were created and Emunah was as well. I'm friends with her, actually. Star smiles at the thought of her friend, tail wagging slightly faster. Ephraim nods, posture somehow becoming impossibly straighter. Yes, I was the first of my kind to be created. Emunah was the last, and she's my little sister. His silver eyes soften just slightly. With quiet steps, the silver harbinger makes his way along the path, pausing briefly to see if the werewolf would accompany him. Star follows next to Ephraim, beaming at the knowledge of meeting another member of Emunah's family. Wow, I can't believe I'm meeting another member of her family. It's so nice to meet you. So you were the first to be created by Mojave. What was it like back then? Yes, I was the first. He seems to place an odd emphasis on first, the word seeming to hold weight. Ephraim pauses, staring off into the night for a minute, and a barely noticeable flicker of pain flashing across his features before the expression smoothed out. He simply continued down the path at a steady pace. It was very different back then. I had my father and mother, my siblings, a duty to fulfill. There were many more species than what you see today. Many other types of peoples that occupied these lands. Ephraim explains. Tone quiet. Star nods along, intently listening to Ephraim. I know of what happened to your siblings. I've talked to Yonk about it and saw the graves just southeast of here. I'm sorry for what happened to you all. Believe me, I know what it's like to be hunted because you are different. Most of my life has just been me running, so I can understand. It only seems recently things have become more peaceful, or rather they were until I roped myself into this whole Snow Queen drama. Now I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place and forced to only go out at night because of a curse she put on me. Star looks frustrated, ears pinning back before she shakes her head and tries to get back to the original topic. But who was your mother? I have only heard of Mojave creating you all. Ephraim's face shudders briefly, an aloof mask suddenly seeming to be put across his feature while Star talks about her knowledge of his dead family. It makes his heart twist, especially after just coming back from a conversation with the wind goddess about how things could not go back to how they used to be. He stops and turns to give Star a startled look at the mention of a Snow Queen. What was she on about? I beg your pardon, but what do you mean by Snow Queen? There have been no monarchies in these lands for a long time to my knowledge. Ephraim blinks and shuffles slightly at her question, adjusting the cuffs of his silver cloak in a hesitant tone as he replies, She's not my mother by blood or birth, but I considered her to have that role because she was there when I was created. He does not disclose who, still unsure with how much he wished to disclose to the Lycan. Star nods in understanding at the information given. The Snow Queen is a fae that has been tormenting an avian named Jet for a long time. She is the god of ice and snow, and because of Jet's connections, Yonk and Emunah are put at risk too. They lost their old home because of her and had to come here. So do yourself a favor and never commune with her. If you see snow, go the other way. Do not let her manipulate you like she has me. I made the mistake of trying to trust her when no one else would. I should have listened to everyone's warnings about her, but I've learned from my mistakes now and want to find a way to get out of her grasp. Star looks stern, yet kindly towards Ephraim. Emunah is helping me with fauna magic, which might be the way to remove this crown, and she plans on helping me develop some kind of code to deal with the curse. The first frowns, but simply nods to Star's warning, unease stirring in his gut. He'd been feeling a shift in the magic lately, but it wasn't obvious like it was with the defeat of the Ender Dragon or the battles with Pyrrhus. Could it be because of this Snow Queen? Ephraim is broken from his musing as Star continues to speak. I appreciate the warning, Star. So you say my sister is helping you? Is Emunah okay? I've not seen her since the wedding, he replies as they reach Ryan and Emunah's shared base. He pauses, gazing at the house, before sighing and turning away off the path and back towards Spawn. You are cursed. I am sorry to hear that. Perhaps I can offer some assistance? Star nods. Yes, she is. She's a great teacher. She has been holding up really well, I would say. She seems really happy with Ryan. They perk up at hearing the offer. Maybe. The Queen put a curse on me that forces me to bark during the day and speak normally at night. Yonk tried to fix it, but because of the crown, she couldn't. The crown itself is a catalyst I received from the Queen upon our first meeting, when I didn't know anything about her. Do you know of any way I could remove this curse? I've spoken to a half-fae recently, and they gave me some ideas. The Queen did put conditions on it. To break the curse I need to, Star brings her hands up to do air quotes as she speaks. Answer to the call of my true self. The half-fae, Marth is their name, said that could mean transforming back into a wolf. Star looks down upon thinking about it. But I don't really feel comfortable with that side of me. And when we first met, she emphasized the fact that I wasn't the beautiful beast she knows I can be. So I don't want to risk her gaining control of me like she can with Jet. Maybe you have other ideas on how to break the curse? I've told you everything I know on it, so any options are good aside from transforming into a wolf. Star looks hopeful as she gazes up at Ephraim as they walk. They reach the roots of the towering library tree, and Ephraim stops to pierce Star with an asserting look. May I take a look and get a sense of this magic before I give you my opinion on a solution? He asks politely, folding his hands behind his back. He kept his thoughts about how the lichen should have listened to those around her silent. He was in no place to judge after all the mistakes he'd made and kept making. Star nodded. Of course! She was happy to be getting a fourth opinion on this. Her tail wagging was evidence enough of it. With a curious but wary expression, the Harbinger slowly reaches out to first assess the crown physically, and then cautiously brushes his magic against it. It feels a little uncomfortable to Star, but not the all-encompassing pressure you felt when Yonk poked it. When Ephraim moves his hand out to assess the crown physically, he notices that there are ice blossoms in Star's hair, and on the crown, stems weaving into her hair, around strands, around each other, around the crown. He notices because they start to move, lengthening, thorns appearing. They have an air of barely restrained menace about them. The crown itself, magically, is peculiar. It's an amplifier, so it should be fairly empty of magical traces. Should be pretty user-attuned. But there's something wrong in this one. Something complicated. Star takes a breath and shifts from one foot to another. They allow Ephraim to continue, but are nonetheless uncomfortable. They try their best to not make it known. She continues to show him a supportive, warm smile as he investigates. Ephraim frowns and mutters something in another language before pushing a little more of his magic at the headpiece. Something is wrong. This shouldn't be this complex. Only god-tier items should have this kind of defense. His brows furrow in concentration. Chills go down his spine. Something in the back of his brain urging him to give up, to not poke too deep. It felt as if he were being watched, and it made his skin crawl. The vines extend higher and contort, growing thorns and making a throat-slitting motion. Then they point at Ephraim with a couple of vines. Ephraim staggers back with a shocked gasp, silver eyes going wide with fear for a split second. No, that was not normal at all. Star's ears shift back, worried about what happened. What happened? Are you okay? I should have warned you. Yonk touched this before and it hurt her a little bit. It also made me very uncomfortable. This time wasn't bad, though, but are you okay? Star reaches out toward Ephraim, but backs off, not wanting to intrude if her assistance is not wanted. The Harbinger's quills are half bristled and he takes a second to breathe and calm himself down. He can feel his heart thudding painfully against his chest, his magic sparking along his clawed tips in an instinctive reaction to the danger he'd just experienced. Ephraim coughs and clears his throat a couple times before he replies. Yes, I'm all right. I was not expecting such a strong defensive reaction. His brows furrow and his silver eyes roam over the crown with a contemplative look. Normal catalysts typically do not have magic like this. I've only encountered something like this with god-crafted items, he explains slowly. Star nods. Like I said, the Snow Queen is the god of ice and snow, and I got this crown from her. So what does this mean? Ephraim hums and taps his claws together, frowning. Well, you've attuned yourself to it, obviously, but it seems only you or this ice deity will be able to remove this item unless you find a very powerful heat mage. He sank down onto one of the roots of the giant tree that loomed above them and shot the werewolf a sympathetic glance. This seems like it will be rather difficult to get rid of. Star nods. Yeah, I know. It's my own fault I have it anyway. She offered it, and I accepted. I should have known better. Star sighs. But no use dwelling on the past. Moping over wrong choices won't change anything. I need to learn from them and make better choices in the future. So now I just need to keep practicing with my fauna magic. Since it is a catalyst, I can run my magic through it. If enough of my fauna magic goes through it, I can oust her from it and I'll be able to remove it. She won't have any more power over me at that point from the curse. Aside from the curse. She told me the conditions with that one too. But getting all of this information got me trapped in a deal with her. They run their hands through their hair, frustrated over the difficult situation they've gotten themselves into. Well, I offer you the best of luck. It seems you already know what you must do to free yourself, he says as he glances up, studying the branches as they swayed in the wind. I wonder if the mortal god will tolerate my presence back in her territory, Ephraim murmurs, as if to himself. Star smiles. I bet she will. If she doesn't tolerate you, then she wouldn't tolerate me. So, you're good. Star sits down next to him. What are your plans now? I'd love to talk to both you and Emunah at the same time sometime. See what old memories I can hear about. The first lets out a disbelieving huff, but doesn't elaborate further on his misgivings. Ephraim hides a wince and says in a controlled, neutral tone, My sister and I do not see each other often. It is probably for the best, for the time being, that it stays that way. It sounded more like he was trying to convince himself of that. As for my plans, Ephraim glances towards Star and gives a small shrug. I have a few. I suppose I will keep trying to find my purpose. That, or work up the courage to try and visit my liege once more. He looks weary, even thinking about that. Star smiles. Those are some interesting plans. I hope you succeed in them. Star looks askance, then back at Ephraim. But why don't you and Emunah see each other? Did something happen between you? I hope you don't mind me asking. If you'd rather not say, I understand. Ephraim's expression shudders, and he simply gives the lichen a blank look. Many things happened, and she is foolish for still wanting me in her life. I will speak with her eventually, just not now. His tone is cold, but underlying his words is a deep sorrow and regret. Star's ears tilt back a bit, and her expression is one of empathy, full of sorrow. They give Ephraim a hug. I think she wants you in her life because, no matter what has happened in the past, she knows you love her, you care for her. You are her family, and she wants to show you how much she cares for you. You mean the world to her. She wants you to be happy and wants to make sure you are okay. Whatever may have happened, she obviously doesn't hold it against you. She lets him go and sighs. I know what it's like to make mistakes, ones that hurt yourself and others. I've made plenty. I beat myself up over them constantly. I think that people will act worse toward me than they actually do. Just recently I went to visit Jess, and it did not go well. Emunah was angry with me for various reasons, one of which was because I ran away when she told me not to. I thought she wasn't going to be friends with me and tell me to steer clear of her and Ryan from now on. They rubbed their neck. I was catastrophizing. I was making the situation seem worse than it actually was. In reality, while she was mad, she understood me and just wanted to make sure I would learn from my mistakes. And I will. It will just take time, and she knows that. So whatever may have happened in the past, I don't think she's that upset with you about it. If she wants you around, maybe you're making her reaction out to be worse than it actually is, like I did. Ephraim stiffens at the sudden embrace, silver eyes growing wide in surprise. He does not return the hug, but he doesn't push Star away either. He simply sits there and listens, relaxing when she releases him. She may not hold it against me, but I do. Ephraim mumbles, lips curling to bare his fangs. I've hurt and abandoned her. I don't even know who I am anymore. The Harbinger gets to his feet, folding his arms across his chest and glowering off into the distance, as if he could project his self-loathing anywhere else but inward. No, Emunah does not need me. She just thinks she does because of our nature as Harbingers. I keep hurting her anyway. Keep saying I'll stay, but I never do, and we just repeat the cycle. His shoulders slump, and he bows his horned head, a pained expression flickering through the aloof facade. I need to figure out who I am again before I can ever try to be a brother to her. I'll keep in contact with Ryan, but I'll only visit my sister if she insists. Ephraim finally turns back toward Star and regards her with a tired look. You're wise to realize about your own mistakes, but your sins are light compared to what I have done and keep doing. I appreciate the advice nonetheless. He dips into a shallow bow. Star gives him a warm smile and stands up. Thank you. I wish you luck on your journey. Know that you are always welcome here, and if you ever need refuge anywhere, my abode just south of here can be where you go. My doors are always open. Star looks at the sky and sees that dawn is coming soon. It was nice speaking with you. It's about time I start heading home. That, or you'll be stuck trying to communicate with a barking werewolf. Star gives an honest chuckle at the thought. Farewell, Ephraim. And before I go, in my opinion, you are a fantastic friend. You are very smart, honest, and sensible. You may have done wrong in the past, but that should not define your future. I believe you can be a great brother and friend someday. If you can't see it, I do, and I bet Emunah does as well. Give yourself a break and don't beat yourself up over the mistakes of the past. It will only make you hurt more. Farewell. They start walking home. Ephraim watches the lichen saunter off and heaves a sigh before turning and heading toward the warps to go back to his own home. He has much to think about.